I am Bryce Keane. The man to the left of me is Joe Scarborough. The man to the right of me is Michael Hobson. We are the Three Beards. Thank you all for coming for Chew the Fat number 3 tonight with an absolute London original. The guys from Hailo. Very, very, very excited. They've generously come down. We are going to quickly tell you that before we kick off tonight, I just want to say a very big thank you to a wonderful company called Braintree. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for Braintree tonight, who's sponsored.
Hi, guys. Bit of context. So commerce has changed irreversibly the last couple of years. 1% 2 years ago of all e-commerce sessions taking place on a mobile device. That's now 30% and rising all the time. And Braintree are at the forefront of that. So I saw another one of these guys, sessions saying, "Don't pitch me, bro." So I've been asked not to come up here and pitch you guys. But very quickly, we are amazing and incredible. No, what is Braintree? Braintree is an online and mobile payment platform which powers the best next-generation purchasing experiences out there. So companies like Hailo, am I allowed to say you guys? Yeah, yep, thumb up, excellent. Uber, TaskRabbit, Living Social, Fab, you name it. These guys have gone from startup from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Are using Braintree to power their purchasing experiences. So why do these guys do it? Ultimately, we give startups and any company, in fact, really simple access to some very sophisticated payment tools, things like single-click purchasing or zero-click purchasing in Hailo and Uber's case, things like mobile payments and the ability to expand internationally extremely quickly. The backdrop to all of that, and one of the other things that differentiates us from everyone else is customer support on a level not seen before, so high touch, high availability, anything you guys need, we are there in an industry where before that's completely bereft. So guys, if you want to grow, you want to up your conversion rates at checkout, you want to improve your customer experience, you want to make everything a wonderful thing in an industry which hasn't done before, then please, pick up a t-shirt, call any of the guys over there. They've all got their cards available. My name's David. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
So on to our wonderful, wonderful guest tonight. So I've just flown in last night from New York and Toronto, where we launched our weekly event, Silicon Drink About. And in fact, this wonderful company came out to both events. They're now in 14 cities, which means you can power up that app and get the same service. I'm going to let our master of ceremonies, our hostess with the mostest, Mr. Benjamin Southworth, tell you a bit more. Oh, he's over there. There he is. He's that way.
Sorry. Wasn't paying any attention. Sorry. Apologise. Nice one. Hi everyone, and thank you all for coming out on what is a little bit of a nippy evening. We spend a lot of time in London sort of talking about success, talking about what does London mean? Are we just a sort of poor copycat of the Valley? Are we this sort of poor version of New York? Has anything really come out of London of any real value? And I think the 3 guests that we have tonight are the epitome of what London can become. Not only because it comes from tradition, and it mixes what is possible now with the internet and mobile to create something that is genuinely useful, that enhances pre-existing communities and creates something of real value, but also they are people like us. They are the sort of same people as we are. They are the people who had an idea, who didn't know how to get there, who have made it happen and have become one of the most successful London stories. Now, those of you who know me when I spent 12 months standing on a soapbox celebrating Tech City, and we would sometimes worry, would we see the likes of a Facebook, the likes of a Twitter, something that we could really plant our flag on and be proud of? And it is with a great pleasure and a great honour that I get to introduce 3 of the co-founders of Hailo, who I believe are the epitome of what is amazing about London. They are London born and bred, they are entrepreneurial, they are intelligent, they are smart, they are passionate, they are everything that I think that this city needs if we are to cement ourselves as an equal to the Valley. I'd like you to introduce and welcome, please, with a firm and appreciative round of applause, please, Russell Hall, Terry Runham, and Gary Jackson. Why don't we start with Russell? Where have you what's your sort of background? Where do you come from? I know you're a London boy, but you're even more local than people maybe realise.
Not very far from here, really. It all sort of began. I knew Gary from years ago playing football with his older brother, Gary Jackson. His brother's Michael, not the Michael Jackson.
Oh, no. You look similar.
Yeah. But we knew each other quite well, and so as we said earlier, it's. I mean, this is sort of seemed to be deemed to be an overnight success. But actually, we met back in January '09, when everyone knows it had been in a cab. The cab driver's always the font of knowledge and always liable to give you an opinion about all sorts of subjects: football, sport. Another sport and politics. And, we decided to get together and change the way people ordered taxis. And that was really the nucleus of our first meeting. We met in another entrepreneurial place, Pret a Manger, in Leicester Square. Yeah, Leicester Square, and we sat down and we decided to embark on an unknown journey, really. I think it was, we identified the fact that lots and lots of people were getting in cabs. Instead of talking to the cab driver, they was more concerned about playing with their smartphones and their, tablets and on their laptops, even though they were quite chunky at that particular time in the back of cabs. And so we decided to look to build something that we can engage with a passenger, because Gary and Terry live in Essex, and I live in Kent. And every night, we go, at the end of our shift, we always went home empty. Yet there'd be someone in the mini cab next to us that would probably want to be in a black cab. And we'd probably like to take that person home at a reduced rate. And that was sort of probably the embryo of Hailo. And it was a venture called Taxi Light. And Taxi Light was quite simple. It was a web-based taxi booking service whereby someone could go on there and put how much they wanted to pay, like from Oxton to Heathrow. They don't want to pay a cab fare, but they don't want to go in a mini cab, but they want to pay 30 quid. And if Terry starts work at that particular time, he'll accept that. And I remember with Terry, we sat there at King's Cross one night after another meeting, that we got our first job, and we really thought that we cracked it, so to speak.
So just be clear on that. So it was kind of trying to solve initially that problem of the taxi drivers living out of town, but they're actually they're making a journey anyway, and why not monetize that journey?
Coming into town empty, going home empty. The average driver working 48 weeks a year, working the average 6 days would burn about 7,200 miles of
Just
dead
empty.
mileage, riding around empty. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say that so it was the timing of the iPhone and internet, mobile.
So you kind of saw this opportunity. You're driving around the cars. They're not talking to you. They're staring at this phone. You thought, hang about. There's a way that this phone and the cab can connect. Yeah. So you got your first customer. You're sitting outside King's Cross. You must have felt pretty chuffed with yourselves. What happened?
Oh yeah. Well, as I said, we were standing there just by our taxis. We were still driving cabs then, and it was like, this is it. This is, we're succeeding. We were still a long way. I mean, we had a couple of guys who was a Taxi Light, wasn't as ambitious as we were. And, going back through January '09, by the sort of end of '09, we developed this web-based platform. But because
how did you get started in that? Because, I mean, without being sort of rude, I mean, I'm a developer by training, and I kind of despise these, people like yourself. You come along with your ideas, and you want me to build it for you, and you don't want to give me any money. I mean, how did you convince these people? What was it?
Well, we give them a cut.
Free taxis?
No. We give them a cut of the company. What? I mean, these two guys,
I think we typed in developer or iPhone and maker,
right?
And this guy went to the top, so he must have been good. Little did we know. So we had back and forths, and as we said, we're 24/7 all the time. Right. And these people was making the website for us. But they had jobs outside, and they didn't see the vision, and they used to think, oh, you might do a few jobs. And were you not intimidated? Were you not kind of afraid of doing this? I mean,
Not at all.
No.
I mean, no. I mean, in fact, it was really exciting, especially when the first job went through. it was like, well, this can really go far. But as Gary pointed out, the two developers, unfortunately never had the same ambition. I mean, I remember us working, well, we laughed one day because we met a journalist and they said they're doing 15-hour days. And we looked at each other and laughed because we was just living and breathing it. And you know, the developer now, well, one of the guys we won't mention, but you can probably find out. He said the immortal words, you know, because we used to harass him, what have you done today? Well, we've done a straw man. What you done? The next day was, what have you done today? Well, I've done another straw man. Think, well, you know, forget the straw. Let's get something down. You know, we want this platform. And in the end, he got very angry with us, and he said the immortal words on the lines of,
"You're nothing without us."
You can swear here.
No. He just said no, but there wasn't really any swearing. He just said, "You'll be nothing without us." And at that point, it's like, you know, we're out. So we left. We sort of.
I would say we didn't have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So we were sitting there. We've got two developers who had 40% of our company, which weren't even a company, to be honest. How many jobs was going through, and we was worried. We was thinking, well, what do we do now? How do we get out of it?
So, I mean, do you think there's something about sort of being a cabbie that sort of, you know, I think in entrepreneurial societies we like to talk about serendipity. And I kind of wonder if cab drivers kind of feel that, you know, like some days are a lucky day, some days are a bad day. And actually having to kind of go through that, you know, for several years sort of trying to make your own money, that when you approach this new problem, that you kind of thought it's exactly the same as cabbing. It's just the same. Some days are going to be bad, some days are going to be good. I mean, do you think that helped you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing the business that we was in gave us supreme confidence to push it forward. And at that particular sort of wandering in the wilderness time, as I said, we was trying to talk every businessman in the back of the cab to lend us a tenner to improve what we had. But I mean, I even applied to go on Dragon's Den for 60 grand. That's all we wanted. You know, I was more than willing. I'd give them 10% to the big girl with the shoulder pads and give her 40%. Yeah. We knew, but what we wanted was the money, and we didn't have the money, and that was the most important thing. We thought, if we get 60 grand, if we give 40% up, you know, we will develop something that we knew it was going to be pretty powerful. I mean, you know, I think all the guys, I know Peter Stringfellow, and most of the girls might as well, but I mean, I picked up Peter Stringfellow one day, and again, this will probably be in the book and the film, that, you know, I picked up Peter Stringfellow, he lives along Albert Embankment, and as I'm taking him to one of his places of operation, I didn't know if he had his daughter, his wife, his girlfriend in the back of the cab. But when we got to the end, I said to him, you know, this was really important. I said to him, I said, what are you doing coming to work anyway? Because he's getting on, you know, 60 or 70 plus. He said, well, you know, you've got to keep your hand in things. And I said, actually, I'm trying to embark on a business myself with 2 other cab drivers. And he said, what is it? And I said, it's a taxi app. And he said, stop.
Did you?
And I did. And he said, it'll be a success. He said, because you're doing something, the business that you know about. I mean, I already mentioned Mickey, you know, Terry's family, my father, even my wife's a cab driver. So the cab business was already, you know, flowing our blood. And it's looking to that vision that was really, that kept us, you know, going on.
And as you said to me earlier, you said the cabbing is the second oldest profession, and interestingly, Peter Stringfield works in the first. So I mean, that's nice.
Oh yeah, it's worth pointing out. So
allegedly, if there's any lawyers, allegedly.
No, it is. It's very true, and it needed addressing. You know, 350, 400-year-old business going back to Oliver Cromwell. It needed sorted out, and 3 guys, you know, 3 cabbies that instead of sitting down talking about stuff, got off their backside and sort of done something about it.
So how did that kind of, you know, how did you feel? I mean, I think, you know, there's lots of people in this room here with businesses trying to get those kind of, you know, those first customers, that bullshit phrase about chicken and egg, right? You've got to have one thing in order to get the other. You know, it sounds like you didn't really struggle to get the drivers on board. And is that because you're in the space, or is it your charm, your good looks, your support of football? What is it?
Yeah,
I'd say it was a bit of all of it.
Right.
No, so I think it was the story we told. We quite like the marketing side of of all this stuff. And with our posters, they weren't just like normal posters. We took a lot of thought into it, and I'd say that we'd go over a poster about 100 times, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Until we got the right formula, the right headings, and we told them what they wanted to hear. So we'd like create scenarios, and we'd say, oh, I was working the other day, and I got a job home to Hornchurch. It was 30 quid, but I was going there anyway. And then the drivers started clicking and going, yeah, I'd do some of that. And,
I mean, you've got to remember that 80% of London cab drivers live in the suburbs. So every driver, it was like gold dust, having a job home and a job coming in. So we knew what drivers wanted, and there was no one out there giving it to them at the time. So, yeah.
So there you are. You've got this. You've managed to lock a chap in the back of the taxi for 100 grand. You've got this. You've got Jay on the phone. Then what happened? Because this is where it starts to get, I think, the story that most people begin to.
I mean, as I say, we got the call to go up and meet up in Tottenham Court Road in Charlotte Street in a cafe.
Did you know how to get there?
Yeah, we did. But don't take this wrong, but the cafe was called Squat and Gobble.
Lovely. It's a lovely name.
And when we actually got there, it was closed, and we thought someone was messing about with us. And then the guy now known as Casper, the Chief Operating Officer, he come in down the street. He said, "Oh, you must be Russ, Terry, and Gary. How you doing? Come and meet, Ron and Jay." And we sat in it was one of those really interesting meetings whereby, we was playing hard to get, and I think.
Describe to me what that looks like.
It's like I think after about 10 cups of tea, we knew they had the technology. Jay already done e-courier along with Casper. Ron had been in the finance side of things. He worked for media companies, and us three, we were sort of looking at it, thinking this could really, really work. Even though we had the money from James virtually, there on the table. This looked like a better, opportunity because it was. They already done it once with e-courier. I don't know if you've seen them sickly purple vans driving around. Well, Jay was a part of that. And
what was another thing? Because we all turned up in suits.
Yeah.
And the reason we turned up in suits is because when you do the knowledge, you've dressed smart for the occasion.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know if anyone knows that, but
No.
yeah. So when you go on the knowledge and do an appearance, you dress in a suit and.
You do. You do.
Is that tradition? Or is it?
It is, yeah. I mean,
It's
when you
have to.
Yeah, when you become
no
a
choice.
when you become a cab driver, you always wear a suit at your appearance. So when they ask you how to get from A to B, when you actually get your badge, you go through the revolving doors and come out wearing an Arsenal kit and flip-flops. You know what I mean?
Steady on. Okay, so they're off raising money and kind of building and stuff. You're off there kind of getting the drivers. You're still working as taxi drivers. You move into HMS president, and then then it seems to just go crazy from that point onwards. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we finished off the passenger app then, and then we went for this period of, when should we launch? Should we launch June, July, August? Jay kept pooping himself. And I'm saying, look, let's get it out there. We had 1,000, don't forget, at this time, we've got 1,000 drivers.
Right.
We've actually sold 1,000 drivers from Taxi Light to come to Hailo. We're telling them we've got an app on the smartphone. They don't know what the hell we're talking about. We're saying, grab your grandson, go to Carphone Warehouse and sort yourself out, because this is going to change. And some drivers did. I remember, obviously, I will speak, about, London, the cab business, 120, 30 million, 120, 130 million trips a year cab drivers do. But they spend so much time, wasted time. And obviously, the other thing is that we have an enemy, and it is the minicab driver. And, listen, I've got friends of minicab drivers, I seriously have. My mate was a plumber, right, quickly. My mate was a plumber, best mate, I still see him occasionally. And he said to me, he came around my house one day and he said, I've got some good news and bad news. I said, well, what's happening? He said, well, I'm going to give up my plumbing business. So I said, all right. I said, but I need your advice. I said, what's the matter? He said, well, I'm going to be a minicab driver. So I said, listen, Tone, I said, you've got to do what you've got to do. I said, what's the advice? He said, how do you get to Waterloo? And that was probably the scariest thing about what we do as the consummate professionals. I mean, every single cab driver you get into, out of the 24,000 cab drivers, you've got the ultimate professional that done the knowledge, the CRB checked. But what we noticed as well is that one of the mantras that we use to prick the conscience of a 40, 50 plus year old cab driver into technology was, do you want to win the work back or don't you? And I think some of them said, where do I sign up? You know, where's the hot coals I've got to walk over? And they seriously did. And you know, I remember one guy, I phoned him up. He just said to me straight away, he said, I don't do technology. And I said to him, if you don't, I said, guys are going to come and take your living away. And I think that's where it's been successful right the way through. I mean, 14,000 drivers later, you know, well, you're talking about 2 in 3 drivers, or maybe, you know, 3 and 4 drivers are now on Hailo. And it's about the vision. And, you know, the vast majority of them will, like, you know, love it.
Wow. Just so everyone's clear, does everyone know quite how hard the knowledge is? Is everyone kind of aware that the amount, the time? I mean, how long did it take you, Russell?
Well, Gary always said I'd done mine before the war, but I've done my knowledge I passed my knowledge in, there's another stat, 6th of June, which is D-Day in 1984. And I think these guys passed that a little bit after me, but almost 30 years coming up.
And how long did it take you?
Just over 2.5 years.
That's quite quick, actually, isn't it?
At that particular time, that was about half of the course.
Right.
But I think now it's taken about 4 years. But it's still a tremendous, I mean, Dave over there, he'll tell you, it's like brain sapping, relationship breaking, friends, you know, partying. It's something that you, in the end, you end up with a robot. And if no one's ever seen it, there's a real good sort of film called The Knowledge. Some great actors in it. But if you fancy a giggle, it gives you the insight of what it takes to become a London cabbie. Probably the finest in the world.
Well, I have to say, I don't think it's overstated quite how complicated it is. I mean, is it 25,000 roads, or is it 25,000 locations and 5,000 roads? Was it?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, everything. I mean, the way you when you sit in the exam, the carriage officer, the person that's asking you the questions absolutely asks you anything. Like club, cinema, restaurant, bar, back street, yeah, I mean, and you have to answer it straight away and then tell them the other point. So you're actually running from, you know, Oxton Square, say, to the Ivy, and you've got to, you know...
And you've got to do it turn by turn,
oh, yeah.
Top of your head.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you think that kind of, I mean, you know, they talk about, you know, brain scientists talk about that changes the brain, it makes you think differently, it gives you a kind of different perspective on life. Like, do you think that sort of level of training has helped you in what you're doing now, and kind of going through the challenges that you face on a sort of day-to-day basis as you expand? Do you think this had some impact, or do you think you were like that before you did the knowledge?
I think I'd like to say there's an entrepreneur in everybody, and I think probably as cab drivers as well, they've got time to think. You may see someone with a guitar, or you might study in physics. I mean, you always look in the well of a cab driver, and you'll find out what's going on behind his head, because he's got a bit of time. And we just thought about the inefficiency of the taxi industry. That's what we focused on.
So the final question, actually the final question is a stupid question, which is, have you ever read The Book of Dave by Will Self?
No.
You should read it. It's about a taxi driver who he has a sexual liaison with this girl, and then this child appears, and he writes this big long love letter to his child explaining his life. And then the apocalypse comes, and then 500 years later in the future, this cabbie's sort of life work is discovered, and it forms a new religion. And God is called the driver, and all of it is about this sort of very complicated, interesting, fascinating story, all about taxi driving as a religion. And I think I'd hope you'd enjoy it immensely. If not, you can charge me more on the fare or something. There's got to be a lot of questions. There is. He's very keen already. That's good. That's a great start. Do we have microphones at the ready? Excellent. There's a lady in the sort of beige, white, black combo there.
Thank you. I think it would be fair to not stay anonymous asking this question. I work for Uber.
Hang on. Steady. Different horses for different courses, I believe.
Very good point.
Live your
No,
French.
my question was related to actually earlier discussion points about demand and supply. What do you do? We use surge pricing, as you know. So when there's a lot of demand, prices go up. So it brings drivers on the road. Does Hailo have a similar kind of mechanism? Because on Saturday nights...
We're not selling them.
Thank you.
Listen, I mean, you know, Uber...
I'm going to have to leave it there. I don't really think there's any finer point to end. Oh, we've got a very excitable person at the back there. One final question.
No, to be honest with you, I mean, when anyone mentions the opposition, I mean, Arsenal, Ben is an Arsenal fan. You can't have a London derby without Tottenham.
No.
So, I mean, competition's great. All I know is that London cab drivers, probably the best in the world, you know what you're getting into is a big strap line, especially coming around Christmas time. You know when you stop a London taxi, he's gonna know where he's going. He's gonna sort of smell pretty good sometimes.
That's true. They always do. You do always smell nice.
But you know, listen, my daughter's come home after having a few drinks a few times, but when she flops into a London cab, she can go sleep on the back seat knowing she arrived safely. And I think out of the 120, Gary's going to hate me for this, but I'm going to get out of there, 120, 130 million trips per year with London taxi drivers, there is still 10 sexual assaults on women a month with private hire. And all we're saying is that as London cab drivers, you're paying a cheap price for a premium service. And I know like Uber's entering the market, but it's a slightly different market. You'll probably aim more at the Addison Lee top end sort of stuff. But I hope this answered your question. And do you want a Hailo later? Because you get one in less than 2 minutes.
What's the biggest problem you had to face that the company didn't or couldn't foresee?
Terry talking too much, I suppose. Terry's actually not really here. He's there offshore account. No, we didn't really have any massive problems. I think what was instrumental is our team, and we talk about our team at Somerset House. We've got 150 odd guys, and we've got a strong. I keep relating to the football in terms. We've got a strong backbone through our team, like keeper, centre half, midfield, forward, and all the guys that we've got about 10 guys that have been with us from the beginning. I think that's not been a problem, but we could have had if they didn't sort of stay with us. I think it's those guys I'm a big team player, and it's not just us three, as you probably know. We're only,
You're a part of it, aren't you?
We're part of the dream. But when we look around, we had a meeting earlier, and we linked up with all the other cities, and we spoke to all the cities, and it is quite, it's quite a good story. So no, we haven't really faced any.
There we are. So it's a classic West Ham story, really. I mean, you might have lost the match, but you had a good game.
We
didn't
played.
You had a good game. You couldn't have seen what could have happened.
I think to be honest with you, selling it to drivers, because obviously cab drivers know what they always talk about football. And if I was talking to you as a cab driver, I would say to you, you join Hailo. You said, what's it all about? I said, what football team do you follow? And you'll say to me, I'm Arsenal. I'll go, Barcelona. And then you have to go, really? I go, really? And I think, going back to the competition...
I'll tell you what, that's a fair sell. That's a fair sell.
And it was. Well, it's not so much now, it's Bayern Munich. But I used to say to drivers, if they said, it's normally fellas, say, what sport do you like? Oh, golf, Tiger Woods, rugby, All Blacks. It's sort of like, as long as you could get drivers to sign up, and they have done. I mean, as I said, we've got roughly about 20,000 drivers that work London, and out of those, we're talking about 14,000 have registered, and out of those, the other 6,000 is probably 4,000 that are trying to skip the HMRC, which leaves a couple of thousand that are just sitting on the fence, and they are coming, to Hailo all the time, and to cover the work that we're anticipating getting, because it's going to be exciting time, especially the early part of next year. with the implementation of going home, and you know, our business model as well, which I'm not going to tell you about, because wolves have ears.
They have Mercedes S-classes, I believe.
You said at the beginning that what drove you was claiming the business that will work back, and it's the same for the drivers. But as you've grown, how are you going to actually get those other 50% of the drivers that don't use the app now? I'd imagine you're going to need them. So how are you going to actually get hold of them?
Okay, so one is I don't think we do need that many more. If we dispatch properly and if we start doing these fixed pricing and we do soon to clear, so when drivers are dropping off, they're getting another job and stuff like that. And then drivers like yourself want to do 5-10 jobs a day. I'm sure you do. But the way it's dispatching at the moment, they can't do that. So we can actually use the database of drivers we've got if we dispatch properly, and that's what we're working on there.
So you think that the solution is more intelligent matching, and as long as you kind of get the sort of location bit correct, then no one really needs to worry about full penetration as long as the penetration's in the right place, as she
I mean,
said.
we're covering, yeah. I mean, we're covering loads of work, but we want to make it, you know, as I said, we want to make it a whole lot better. I mean, there's a Hailo job every 7 seconds in London, and globally there's a Hailo job every 4 seconds. There goes another one. So, I mean, what we want to try and do is obviously get that down even lower, especially for London drivers. And we want you to be busy all the time, you know. And as I said, lots of guys have been with us from the beginning, and we're pretty passionate about giving as much back to those drivers as possible. And we are. And we, you know, we've even had passengers telling drivers, you're not on Hailo, go to the Hailo office in Great Suffolk Street and go and sign up, because you've got to be mad driving around with not having the extra pair of eyes that see that job two streets away. I mean, we've carried passengers to the equivalent of, silly stats here, by the way, 100,000 times around the M25, or the equivalent to 37 times to the moon and back. I mean, we're just doing a phenomenal amount of business. You know, 4 million passengers so far, and it's not going to stop. I mean...
And I was going to say, we don't win unless Dave's doing jobs constantly. That means coming in, going home, and constantly working during the day.
Yeah. You know, and going back to the, you know, talking about the end goal and stuff like that, you know, I've got a vision of, you know, I used to work a lot over Canary Wharf when I started work, and I used to see a lot of minicabs over there. And then, you know, I feel that if every business over in Canary Wharf is getting a Hailo cab, then that's the point when I think, that'll do. You know, I'm sort of quite happy with that. And whatever the rewards come with that, then fine. Which will help me pay for my daughter going through Oxford and stuff.
I'm likely to get ruled either overruled by Bryce or you on this, but I'm going to call time because I think they've had 2 hours on stage talking, answering questions. I'm sure if Mickey doesn't grab them away into the back of a cab for a kebab, then there's an opportunity to have a chat to them directly. I know Uber would like to share a few little war stories.
I mean, we have got a...
Please do join me in thanking what I think has been one of our greatest sessions so far.